If you thought this family had already seen its worst days, tonight's episode of Inimba just proved you wrong, because a decision made without a single conversation might just be the crack that finally breaks a marriage that everyone thought was unshakable. Stay with me till the end, because there is a twist involving a newborn baby, two sisters who can barely stand each other, and a husband who thinks being the man of the house means never having to explain himself. Welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a recap of your favorite show. Let's get straight into it. Tonight's episode opens with tension already thick in the air. Zoleka is clearly unsettled, and it does not take long for us to understand why. Her husband Lazarus has made a decision that directly affects the family, and he did it without consulting her at all. The decision in question involves Bavumel, and the choice to take her to the house of her ex-husband. Now, on the surface, this might sound like a simple logistical arrangement, but in the world of Inimba, nothing is ever that simple. Zoleka has always tried to maintain a delicate balance in her relationship with Bavumel, careful not to overstep, careful not to be seen as controlling, and careful to respect the boundaries that exist because of Bavumel's history with her ex-husband. So when Lazarus goes ahead and makes this call on his own, it does not just feel like a scheduling decision. It feels like a betrayal of the quiet understanding the two of them have built over time. What makes this even more complicated is the timing. We are told that this all unfolds around 10 o'clock, and the way the scene is shot, you can feel the clock ticking, you can feel the walls closing in on this marriage in real time. Zoleka is not just upset that Bavumel was taken to her ex-husband's house. She is upset because she was left out of a decision that should have involved her. And for viewers who have followed this couple from the very beginning, you know that this is not the first time Lazarus has acted first and explained later. It is a pattern, and patterns in soap operas are rarely accidental. The writers are clearly building towards something bigger, and tonight might be the episode where that pattern finally catches up with him. As if that were not enough, Zoleka's frustration boils over in a way we have not quite seen before. In a moment that is bound to have fans talking for days, she goes to Cosmo, and for those unfamiliar, Cosmo is not just any location in this story, it carries weight because of what it represents in the context of her marriage. Going there is not a neutral act. It is a statement. And Lazarus reacts exactly the way you would expect a proud, image-conscious CEO to react. He is embarrassed. He feels exposed. Because in his mind, whatever happens between him and his wife should stay behind closed doors, inside their own bedroom, discussed quietly between two adults who are supposedly working things out. Instead, Zoleka takes her pain somewhere public, somewhere visible, and that, according to Lazarus, crosses a line. But here is the question this episode forces us to sit with. Who actually crossed the line first? Was it Zoleka, for airing what should have stayed private? Or was it Lazarus, for making a life-altering decision about a member of this family without even picking up the phone to talk to his wife? Because let's be honest, marriage does not work when one partner assumes the right to decide everything and only expects the other partner to comply quietly. There are hints in this episode that Lazarus genuinely believes compromise is something only Zoleka should be doing. There is a lingering suggestion in the dialogue that a happy home requires the wife to be the one who bends, the one who absorbs the frustration, the one who is expected to smile through decisions she never agreed to. And if that reading is correct, then this episode is not just about one bad decision regarding Bavumel. It is about a much deeper imbalance in this marriage, one that has probably been simmering long before tonight. Now let's shift to the other storyline running through this episode, because it might actually be even heavier than the Zoleka and Lazarus drama, and it centers on baby Sana. If you have been watching this season, you already know that Zetu has been struggling since giving birth. Tonight, that struggle is front and center, and it is honestly difficult to watch. We see a mother who is clearly overwhelmed, clearly exhausted, and clearly not getting the kind of support a new parent needs. The episode does not shy away from showing just how much is falling on Zetu's shoulders alone, and it raises a question that echoes throughout the hour: where is everyone else? Thokozile, Zetu's sister, becomes a major focus here, and not in a flattering way. Time and time again, we see her step back at the exact moment Zetu needs her the most. There is a particularly telling scene where Steve calls, and just like that, Thokozile is out the door, leaving Zetu to handle everything on her own. It paints a picture of someone who talks about family loyalty but disappears the moment real responsibility is required. And it is hard not to feel frustrated watching this play out, because Thokozile is in a position to help. She has clearly seen how much Zetu is struggling, day in and day out, yet she keeps choosing to prioritize her own relationship over her sister's well-being. If anyone in this episode could have recognized early on that Zetu needed real, professional support and not just casual check-ins, it was Thokozile, and the show makes it painfully clear that she chose not to. Then there is Thumika, who stands in stark contrast to Thokozile. Throughout the episode, Thumika is shown reaching out, offering to help, willing to step in and care for baby Sana so that Zetu can catch her breath. Thumika has stability, she has support around her, and she is emotionally in a place where she can actually offer something real. But here is where the story gets its emotional gut punch. Zetu, even in the middle of her exhaustion, resists leaning on Thumika. Part of that resistance seems to come from pride, from not wanting to be seen as failing, and part of it seems tied to a fear that accepting help means losing control, or worse, losing her child altogether. There is a heartbreaking undertone in this episode suggesting that Zetu worries if she admits she cannot cope, someone like Thumika could end up fighting for custody instead of simply lending a hand. And that fear, whether justified or not, ends up driving some of the most painful choices we see tonight. Instead of simply calling Thumika and asking her to come get the baby for a while, Zetu chooses to prove a point to everyone around her, that she can do this alone, that she does not need saving, that she is not the irresponsible mother some people in her life seem to already believe her to be. It is a classic case of pride colliding with desperate need, and the show does an excellent job of making viewers feel both sympathy and frustration at the exact same time. You want to reach through the screen and tell her to just make the call, and yet you understand exactly why she cannot bring herself to do it. Axelani's role in all of this cannot be ignored either. As Sana's father, his near-total absence throughout this crisis says a lot. The episode gives us a moment where he shows up, almost performatively, seemingly more interested in confronting perceived rivals for Zetu's attention than actually stepping up as a parent. There is a scene that many viewers are going to find infuriating, where he expresses jealousy over another man's presence in Zetu's life, despite having been nowhere to be found while his own child was being neglected. It is one of those moments the show clearly wants us to sit with uncomfortably, because it highlights a double standard that plays out far too often. He wants the emotional entitlement of a partner without carrying any of the responsibility of a father. At the same time, the episode does leave a small window for nuance here, hinting that Axelani, like Zetu, may simply be unprepared for the reality of new parenthood, rather than being purely villainous. Whether that nuance earns him any sympathy from viewers is going to depend entirely on how the next few episodes handle his arc. The emotional peak of the episode arrives in the quiet, devastating moments involving baby Sana herself. Babies cannot speak, they cannot explain what they need, all they can do is cry, and this episode uses that helplessness to devastating effect. We see Zetu, sleep-deprived beyond reason, trying to hold everything together through sheer determination alone. There is a raw, almost documentary-style honesty to these scenes, showing a mother pushed to her absolute limit, refusing to ask for help even as her body and mind are clearly begging her to stop. And when Thumika is ultimately kept at a distance, denied the chance to help care for a baby she has clearly grown to love, it lands with real emotional weight. This is not framed as a villain being punished. It is framed as pain multiplying pain, a mother too proud to accept support, and a woman who wanted nothing but to help being pushed away in the process. By the closing scenes, Inimba leaves us with more questions than answers, which, let's be honest, is exactly what keeps us all coming back week after week. Will Zoleka and Lazarus find a way back from this very public rupture in their marriage, or has Lazarus's pattern of unilateral decisions finally done irreversible damage to the trust between them? Will Zetu eventually swallow her pride and accept the help that is right in front of her, or will her refusal to ask for support push her further into isolation? And what role, if any, will Thokozile and Axelani play going forward, now that their absence has been so clearly exposed on screen? What stood out to me most in this episode is how the show weaves two very different storylines, one about marital trust and public image, the other about new motherhood and pride, and finds a common thread running through both. In both cases, we are watching people who would rather suffer in silence, or lash out in frustration, than simply sit down and communicate honestly with the people closest to them. Lazarus assumes he can make decisions without input. Zoleka responds by taking her frustration public instead of confronting him directly first. Zetu assumes accepting help means admitting failure. And the people around her, who could offer real support, keep failing to show up consistently when it matters most. It is a masterclass in how small breakdowns in communication can spiral into much larger crises, and it is part of what makes Inimba such compelling television. So, what did you think of tonight's episode? Do you think Zoleka and Lazarus's marriage can survive this, or has too much damage already been done? Do you believe Zetu will finally accept help from Tamika, or is her pride going to keep pushing everyone away until it is too late? Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. I genuinely want to know where you all stand on this one. If you enjoyed this recap, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you catch every single review the moment it goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.